So it's October, which means it's time for artists to ramble about their OCs, and I am no different. This is technically a part 2 to my last video, where I redesigned my comic characters, but you don't have to watch that to understand this one. You also don't need to understand D&D to watch this video. God knows I certainly don't. Fun fact, despite having many D&D characters, I've never actually played a single game of it. The only exposure I have to the game is through Critical Role, and even then it's usually through one-shots or highlights. I've got that ADHD dog in me, bro. However, the randomness of the character creation is super fun, so I just kind of keep making characters. And the 2 characters in this video are no different. They were made when I had an idea for a homebrewed world that I thought would be super interesting. I'll get more into it when I talk about the designs and such, but first let me talk really quickly about my process. I made a Pinterest board trying and probably failing to not put AI onto it, which contained a lot of visual inspiration such as hairstyles, animalistic qualities, unusual fan art, and fashion inspiration. I looked a lot at D&D characters who had similar classes to mine and then went and started sketching. It actually took me a while to get the designs down that I liked, and you will see me changing them when I go into the line art stages as well, but I wanted to make sure that the fashion was right for this imaginary world that I was making. And also, D&D character designs always seem super complicated compared to what I usually make, so I wanted to try and blend my strengths and weaknesses together. Anyway, once that was done, I went into Clip Studio Paint and started finalizing the designs. Now I'm going to warn you, this next section is going to be completely unscripted, just because I wanted to try something different out when I was making art videos. I am doing this for all my videos this month, so make sure you let me know if this is a good way to make videos or not. I also have messed with my mic. Let me know about that one too. Anyway, onto me actually making the designs. So the character we're immediately starting with is Veren. She is a Harengon fighter bard, which I know sounds crazy, but hear me out. So essentially, I don't even know if I pronounced her race right, but she's one of the bunny people. As you can see, I'm drawing a bunny. A very humanized bunny, but we move. But she's a fighter bard. Now, this idea came to me just as a daydream, and I was like, just like thinking, like, oh, someone playing like the lute, like someone says something like kind of misogynistic, they flip the lute around and then smack them in the face, and that's where the bard fighter multi-class came from. Welcome to my creative process. I hope you have fun being here. As I was doing her character sheet, and I used the character sheets to help me figure out, you know, certain things about their characters and things like that, it kind of became apparent to me that Harengons are fey creatures, which I had no idea about. So I kind of started working with this idea that she was a fey creature, and she, well, not necessarily a fey creature, but she had gotten taken from this magical mortal world, I guess, and then got taken to the fey realm, and kind of hated it there. And so now, despite the fact that she has this connection to the Fae, she fucking hates them all and wants them dead. Which I know is it's very like, girl, just get therapy. But I think that's really interesting for her character, because her entire character is just like finding people who can help her blow up the Feywild. Which is basically how the story starts. Which I think is really fun, and we love a chaotic girl. And, you know, I support a women's rights and women's wrongs, but it's really interesting, and that's kind of the idea that we're playing with in this, I guess, original campaign that I have not written. When it comes to, like, her design itself, I was playing around a lot in my sketchbook, as I said earlier, and I really wanted to go with, like, not necessarily like a Jessica Rabbit vibe, but, you know, you've got, like, the hips, you've got the bigger boobs, that kind of vibe. And I wanted to make sure that I was still, you know, keeping track of, you know, bunny features, though. You can see that I was gonna use bunny hands, and then I decided not to, and just, I kind of went, screw it. But I was really, like, interested in just making sure that it still read as a bard, but also read as someone who could kick your ass very easily. And that's kind of the vibe. She's very much a chaos, and is a free spirit at the same time. Like, someone will be like, oh my god, you're a fey creature, and she'll beat their ass and be like, no, I'm not. And it's like, that's the most fey creature thing you could have done. But I do love her. She's chaotic as hell. She is very greedy. If I get her spells up for a second, I have her as like a level 2 at the moment, because as I said, I've never played D&D, so I don't really know how the levels work. But at the moment, out of her spell, she's got like Charm Person, Sleep, Zone of Truth. Like, she's chaotic as hell. And I think that's really interesting as like a concept. Like, she is, by definition, a fake creature. She just fucking despises it. And that kind of like self-hatred and hatred of the world that she kind of grew up with is really interesting. And that's kind of like what I was going for with her character as well. So we'll see when it gets to the coloring stage. I had a little bit of a hard time with it, but you know, it was fine. And I also think that her being slightly humanoid kind of adds to the story that I'm making. So this is a homebrew campaign, and I'll get more into our second character, but it's all about like halflings, and I have been like, I've never played D&D. I have no idea if this is possible, but like there's like a whole like city of like halflings, but not like the halflings that you get on like Roll20 or anything. I'm talking like half dragonborn, half human kind of things. And that might be a terrible example, but you know what I mean. Like the next character is half Aarakocra, half human, but it's like I've been trying to make sure that they don't look too human, if that makes sense. So I was having a fun time actually drawing like a non-humanized character. Well, she's still humanized. I mean, she's got the anatomy and everything, but she's got like certain features that don't look like they should be there and that kind of thing. And so that's why I was having fun exploring with the designs. And you'll see eventually I get bored of drawing her face specifically, and so I just like cut off like the little like face cards that I had on the right, because I was just like, I can't be bothered to draw those. But yeah, that was half the fun, and I was making sure that I was trying to read Bard, like, so that's why she's kind of got like, she's got the boob window, and she's got the corset, I guess, I think that's what it's called, like the leather corset. Is it leather? I can't remember what color I use it. But that's what I was going for. And then she's got like little like see-through fabrics, which is why I'm erasing some of the lines, which looks really cool, by the way. It's a really cool effect. I suggest people use it when they're doing glass or like see-through-ish things, is like removing certain lines. It looks awesome. But yeah, it was just one of those things where it was just really interesting to kind of design a D&D character. It's not necessarily something that I typically do. So being able to do that while also trying to work in a personality, while also making sure I'm keeping the animalistic features, was so difficult, but I had so much fun. And here we are moving into the color section, which is where I said I had the most difficulty. It was mainly because I had to research into bunnies. I'm not really an animal person, so I had like no idea what kind of colors they were. And I think I ended up on this, I think it was called an otter bunny. So it's like black, orange, and white, maybe? And so those were the colors that I ended up going with. I think I changed the black to be slightly brighter because of how dark it looks on there. Yeah, it's like a tan otter bunny. So it's got a lot of ginger and it's got a lot of white. And I was going for that really specifically. However, in my notes, I was like, yeah, she can have black hair and blue eyes. Not black hair and blue eyes, black hair with blue tints. And I was like, yeah, I didn't end up doing that at the beginning. And for the most of this speed paint, you will see that that's not the hair color that she has. But the color was really interesting. I was looking at references of bunnies, and you can see them flashing up every now and then, and specifically like where the colors would go. And then I was trying to translate that effectively into the design. And as you can see, the boob window now gets even brighter, which I actually kind of love. It's really cunty. But yeah, it's that kind of thing. It was actually a lot of fun working out this color. I don't necessarily make designs that make me think too much about that kind of thing. And being able to actually do that really was fun. I had a lot of time messing with it. Half of the time I hated it, but half the time I actually did love it. So that was great. As you can see now, we're just putting red on the hair. And I'd say like, oh, it's not going to stay. Don't worry about it. It's going to stay. It's going to stay for a really long time. And it's going to stay for the rest of the speed paint. I'm sorry about that. I put the red on just for like temporarily, and then you see me looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute, this is so cool. I don't know, man. It was a rough day, I think. I don't know, it does look kind of fun. I think it looks good because of like the orange texture in her skin, but you know, it's fine. We're now going on to her eyes, which because she's a fey creature, you have to roll for a specific trait. And I rolled that she was gonna have iridescent swirl color in her eyes. And so I got iridescent colors and I put them in her eyes. And I don't know if I've done the iridescent itself too well, but I think that it still works to show that she's maybe not quite not fey as she says she is, which I think works really well. I have just gone through the hair cycles like I was talking about. Yeah, the red is staying, unfortunately, for a little bit. My bad, guys. And the worst part is that because I do this red hair, I stick with it, I make everything pink. And I am like 95% sure that it does not stay. So half of this speed paint doesn't even matter. I struggled a lot with color, as you can see. But I think it's just because whenever I see D&D designs, there's always a lot of browns, and there's always like a lot of like leather colors, and that's not really the colors that I'm used to working with. You know, I'm used to working with a lot of golds and silvers and stuff, but if you're making a D&D character, you don't really get to work with those colors a lot. I was glad that I added in this little blue, like accent color, I guess, to her little accessories. That becomes a major part later of why I end up changing her design, but we'll get to that. And here we start working on her little iridescent see-through things. I was putting this on a different layer, and I was kind of just putting colours everywhere. I did not use a reference, but I think it worked out fine. I think some of it looks really well. Her sleeves look great, just because of the amount of like folds I put on them. So it was really easy to just like add folds wherever add the colors wherever I wanted the folds to be. And so it genuinely looks really nice when it like gets when it's fully colored. It looks good. And I was adding it to the little tails, like tail half skirt thing that she's got on, which I also liked. I liked it less because I was more conscious of where I was putting all the colors and everything. But I think it still works, and I still like it, you know, and it looks good. And it fits the vibes that she's going for. She's a very colourful person. She stands out. She's very... I've just had this thought, but she's very like Birdie from Glass Onion. Like, she's made to stand out and distract you. So when she hits you with the fighter part, you're like, oh my fucking god, and you get your ass beaten. Like, she's purposefully doing that. It's like what they do in nature, you know? How some animals are like how some poisonous frogs are like really colourful just to distract you from the fact that they're poisonous. I've just made that up like on the spot. Like, that's how good I am at thinking through my ideas. That's that ADHD brain for you. But yeah, that's kind of what works, and I think it does work, and I'm glad that I thought about it. And so now we're just doing the last little bits, which is putting on the colour. And I had colour swatched an iridescent thing I found on Google. I did put -AI on there. If you are wanting to search like images up on Google, put -AI like together, like with no space, and it will remove all AI images on there. So it is very helpful to do that. But yeah, I think now we are just like going through blending modes just to try and figure out how I'm supposed to make it like floaty. And now I'm playing with colors again. And I think I ended up just like making it transparent slightly. I think I ended up putting it on like maybe 60 or 70. And here's the final design. As you can see, I changed her hair color and I changed everything about the colors on this design. I ended up going for a black and blue color. I think it works a lot better, and the blue tips of her hair just work with that lighter blue of her shirt and then the black into her trousers. I added that dot pattern on the I guess they're shoes, but they don't have a bottom, so the shoes-ish kind of thing. And I think it just looks so much better in cohesion than it did with the pinks and the reds. So yeah, that is Veren. And now we are moving on to our second design of today. I am introducing you to Teriqk, who is a half Aarakocra, half human. Now, my initial idea with making him this was because I was like, I make too many pretty characters. I want to make someone disgusting to look at. And then I tried to do that in my sketchbook and it didn't work. Because I don't have the skills to do that. Essentially what I wanted to do was make like a skin-like beak on his face. But I don't know how to draw birds. As you can see from the fact I'm failing to draw wings, those will disappear, by the way, I get rid of them. But Teriqk is fun because he is, let me get his sheet up, a artificer. I never played D&D, I don't know what that means. But according to the wiki page, it means that he makes things and imbues them with magic. So it kind of fit well for the theme that I was going for, which is in this town or city, let's go with city. In this city, there's like a group of halflings who live in the slums, and they are living down there to die. You know, they should die, and everyone wants them to die. But Teriqk is, you know, taking responsibility, and he's like, okay, we're going to try and make sure we all stay alive as long as possible. And so he started to learn how to make things. And by learning to make things, he learned to imbue them all with magic. And I think, you know, looking at his like spells and stuff, he's got things like heroism, mending, you know, feather falling, and purifying food and drink, which are all things that will help other people like him live in the slums. And, you know, he's very much like a good soul, but he does some fucked up things. Like, he doesn't trust people who aren't halflings, and he can get quite violent, to be fair. You know, one of the flaws that I rolled was that I'd rather kill someone in their sleep than have a fair fight, and that just sums him up completely, you know, like, he would, like, literally stab someone in their sleep, which he does try to do to Veren after she kidnaps him, because Teriqk knows how to blow up the Feyrealm, and that's how they meet. Spoiler for the plot, I guess. There's no spoiler, there's no plot. But yeah, so when I was working my way through his designs, I was trying to make sure that there was space for, like, wings and stuff, while also trying to make sure that he could look off. Now, the way that I tried to do that, after I got rid of the wings, was that I wanted his skin to just be covered in feathers. Like, he had feathers for skin, essentially, and his legs will look like bird legs as well. But I wanted to contrast that with, like, the softness of the way that I've drawn the feathers with the sharpness of his hair, to show that he is human and he's got that sharp ends for his hair and everything like that. And I think it was kind of interesting to consider that. The way I looked at so much green fan art for designing Teriqk, it was crazy. I had no idea people drew Grian as like a bird person, but now I understand that now. I'm not really into hermitcraft, but like, fair enough. So I looked at a lot of that, so you'll see like the little feather ear things that I'm drawing, and the little feathers underneath the eyes have come from Grian fan art. Shout out to whoever that artist is, you're awesome. But then that's the kind of thing, is that I substituted those, like the wings that came from the collarbones, which would have been horrifying to look at, but I couldn't draw it right, so I substituted it for things on the face that make him look not human anyway. And I've drawn his nose specifically kind of looking downwards like that. I figured that maybe if I ever drew a side profile, which I'm not drawing in this video, but if I ever drew a side profile, then it would look beak-esque, and I think that was half the fun of it, trying to figure out where he's going to look very bird-like and where he's going to look very human-esque. And we get that when I start colouring it as well, that his hands are very human, so you have the white into the skin colour, which is kind of horrifying. But I think it really works, and I really like the fact that I tried to push myself out of my comfort zone when it came to drawing him. I will tell you now, I didn't look at any references. I looked at Pinterest art. So it's probably all wrong, but you know, at least I tried. And I think this whole project was just me trying to figure out how to draw designs that weren't as bland, but weren't as human as I'm used to drawing. And I think it works out well. I really enjoyed this project, and I really want to draw more D&D characters like this. I don't think I'd ever draw a Dragonborn. That seems way too difficult for my skill set right now. I'm only just starting to learn this, and they're all going to look humanoid for a bit until I actually do start drawing things like that. But I really enjoyed drawing Teriqk. There was a lot of like belts and stuff that I was drawing all over him. I figured that he might try and like stop his feathers from like falling out by like literally like tucking them into his arms and everything. So that's why he's got a lot of belts on his arms. He's also got really cute little goggles on the top of his head, and I love them so much. Like, I've never drawn like goggles like that before, but they are so cute. It was so much fun. I so want to draw something like this again. It's just, I had so much fun with this video, you know. I never knew drawing D&D characters could be this entertaining, and it is this entertaining. But as you can see, I'm copy and pasting a lot of his face over, because I struggled with it so much that I was just like, I can't be bothered to draw it again. So you're seeing me copying and pasting it over, which I think is valid. I'm valid in that. You don't get to criticize me. I'm doing what I want to do. And now we're moving into the colour, which is where not necessarily my problems lied, but I was kind of seeing it all come together. Now, I wanted him to be like a white aarakocra, so when I colour picked the aarakocra official art, it was like this beigey cream colour, and I was like, no, this ain't gonna work for me. But then I also looked at the aarakocra art again, and they've got like this brown tone that they keep seeing, so I really wanted to like add like brown tips to his feathers, which I think could be like a genetic thing, but I also think it could be fun that his wings are so dirty from living in slums that they're just naturally brown now, and I think that's really fun. So you'll see me put that all over his body as well, and I think it works well to balance out the amount of white on his face. So yeah, I think it's just interesting. If I ever did this comic, I think it would have to be in colour, mainly for the fact that I think it would be a lot more interesting to see how the colours worked in dynamics with each other. And also, like, if you're doing something where someone's like doing a story where someone's from the Feywild and their eyes are a different colour to everyone else's, you kind of have to have that colour in there. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. It will not be for a while. It'll be a one-shot if I did it as well. It wouldn't be like a whole story, you know. I wouldn't like do like a 100-chapter series or whatever. It's just be like a one-shot. This is when I'm adding the colour to his hair. Now, I wanted someone who had pink hair. That's it. Welcome to the creative process. I just wanted him to have pink hair. And so you're seeing me work out the tones, and then I'm like, do I want pink hair? I went through every other colour, and then I landed on this kind of like this orangey pink tone to his hair. And that's because I don't have any characters who have pink hair, and I wanted one, so now I do. Genuinely, my art process is as simple as that. It's like, what do I want to do today? Let's do that. I think that's quite entertaining though. I always try to like give myself a good time when I'm making art. That's why you should always have fun making character designs, because you're gonna have to keep drawing them over and over again. There's little sections on his belt and many belts where like there's like little, we'll get there I think, but there's little gold chains that are keeping them together. In my head, this is where he would store things like his machines or like his tools, maps of the place, things like that. But I couldn't be bothered to draw them, so they're just not there. It's as simple as that, really. We're going into colouring his little shirt tunic thing. That's a funny thing. I added the little tunic at the bottom because I couldn't decide if it was more or less like explicit to just have like nothing there. So I figured if I put something there, at least it looks a little bit more respectful. But yeah, so this was a fun design. He is very pink toned, which I'm very happy about. I'm very happy that I changed Veren's colour scheme then. They're very much contrasting colours. And I like him. I love him. He's my boy. He's a soft boy. He likes taking care of people. I say he's a soft boy. He likes hurting people as well. So I guess he's a soft boy with a lot of anger management issues. But yeah, that is the end of my designs. I think we're going through... Yep, here you go. Here's all of my sketches. You can see me trying to figure out eye things. You can see my one attempt at the nose, and I gave up instantly. I definitely took a lot of inspiration from Hawks from My Hero Academia when it came to the eyes. We're having like little eyes, like the eyes being slightly more slitted than usual. You can see all my notes as well as the hair. You know, me going through all the hair and everything. And then we get to Veren. I didn't draw Veren with a tail. I don't think we ever saw that. Whoops. But it was just kind of things where I would do them individually and then I'd bring them all together. which I think is a great way to do character designs, is doing them separately and then bringing them all together to have this one massive hurrah. So I really do recommend it to people who, you know, are maybe wanting to get into character design. And that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble for like, I don't know, like half an hour about my characters. If you're wanting to hear more of me, consider subscribing. But if you like the video, like it, let me know what you guys think of the designs and would you guys change anything? What do you like about anything else? And I shall see you in my next video.